Chapter 6 is on the organization of the firm. And I hope you find this chapter interesting because it crosses over into many areas, into strategy, management, and even leadership. So we'll jump in and see there are two main topics in this chapter. One is how do you acquire inputs, things you need for your business? And what is the nature of the principal agent problem? And what is the relevance of that concept for both management's relationship with the owners and management's relationship with their employees? The first major topic is obtaining inputs. This means what are the trade-offs from the economic standpoint when we look at the choices that we have, those being the spot exchange, contracting, or vertical integration. And what are the four types of specialized investments? And each of those have their own issues, such as bargaining, underinvestments, or even a holdup problem. And what is the optimal manner in procuring those inputs? The second major topic is principal agent. And here we're looking at the relationship first at the level of owners and managers, and then at the relationship between managers and workers. And there are different ways to address and mitigate. You can't eliminate, but you can mitigate some of the negative aspects of the principal agent problem. So what is management's role? Well, if we're running a business, our job is to produce at the minimum cost. Let's imagine our first position is depicted in point A. We're making 10 units of output at a cost of $100. And A, as you can see, is above our minimum cost based on the function below. So our job as good managers is to drive down our cost of manufacturing to the point where we can make 10 units, but not at $100, but at $80. Easier said than done. Here are three examples of ways to acquire resources or inputs. Clone 1 PC is legally obligated to purchase 300 computer chips each year for the next 3 years from AML. The price paid is $200 per chip in the first year, and the price rises based on a percentage of the wholesale price index over years 2 and 3. That is what? It is a contract. It's a contract because it spans time, there are specified delivery prices, and it is a relationship between two parties formalized in a written agreement, namely a contract. Scenario 2 is Clone 2 PC purchased 300 computer chips based on a magazine ad. And so they looked at the ad and acted upon it and bought the 300 chips. What is that? That is the spot market. So spot market means that you could shop, acquire the chips that you need. Quite different from that contract for 3 years from Clone 1. The third is Clone 3 PC manufactures its own motherboards anyway, so they decide to manufacture both the motherboards and the chips. And what is that? That's an example of vertical integration. In fact, we saw that before in management accounting. It's called make or buy, and here they decided to make. So there are three different ways to approach the same question. I need 300 computer chips each year. How do I get it? You can buy it on a contract. You could buy it on a spot market, or you can choose to make it yourself. So those are the basic choices in procuring needed inputs. Let's look a little bit more closely at each of the three. First, a spot contract is defined as an informal relationship between a buyer and seller for which neither party is obligated to adhere to specific terms of the exchange. That's a lot of words to mean you have choices, as do the sellers, and you're going into the marketplace and just acquiring it if the price is acceptable to you. And that's it. It's a one-time, potentially just a one-time transaction. Next, we have a contract. And a contract is a formal relationship between a buyer and a seller that obligates the buyer and seller to exchange at terms specified in that document. There's a piece of paper that lays out the details that may span more than one delivery. And in this case, in the Clone PC example, those 300 chips we acquired over a 3-year period. So it's quite different than a spot market or a spot exchange. The third is produce items internally, and that's vertical integration. We'll see later that the term vertical means from the supplier to you downstream, so it's in the same value chain. Horizontal is across competitors within a business. So Clone 1 has various competitors, so if they were to acquire the competitors, those would be horizontal integration examples, and if they acquire up and down within their own value chain, that would be a vertical integration. So in our prior example, Vertical integration was the third example, and that is where PC Clone 3 decided to make their own chips.